The late afternoon sun burned low over the dusty streets of Dustwood, casting long, wavering shadows across weathered wooden storefronts. The town seemed suspended in time, a relic of a rough and unforgiving era. Horses snorted and pawed at the dirt, while a few weary townsfolk wandered from shop to saloon, their eyes wary and quick. A lone rider appeared on the horizon, his silhouette framed by the deep orange glow of the setting sun. He was tall, lean, and carried an air of quiet authority. His hat shadowed a face lined with years of hardship, his eyes sharp, scanning every corner with precision that betrayed experience and vigilance. The ranger, as he was known, had a reputation that preceded him, a man who walked the fragile line between law and legend, who took on jobs no one else would dare. At the edge of the street, a young woman watched the approaching figure with cautious curiosity. She was clearly out of place among the rough, sun-beaten locals. Her dress, though dusty from travel, was neat, and her posture careful, betraying both elegance and apprehension. There was something in her eyes, a mixture of wonder and fear, as if she were trying to measure the weight of the man before her. The ranger dismounted with fluid grace, his boots stirring up small clouds of dust. He walked toward her, and his voice, when he spoke, was calm, firm, yet strangely reassuring. "Just sit down, please trust me," he said, motioning to a weathered bench beneath the shade of a sagging signpost. She hesitated, her instincts urging caution, but there was a confidence in his tone that made her pause. Slowly, she eased herself onto the bench, hands folded neatly in her lap. I don't even know your name," she said softly, her voice barely rising above the whisper of the wind. "You'll know it soon enough," he replied, his gaze sweeping the street as if expecting trouble to emerge from the shadows. "Right now, we've got a problem." Her curiosity sharpened, but before she could ask, a sudden stir of movement from the far end of the street caught her eye. Dust clouds rose as rough-looking men on horseback approached. Their faces were hardened, their eyes cold and calculating. The ranger's hand hovered lightly over the grip of his revolver, though he remained unnervingly calm. He leaned slightly toward her, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Stay calm. Whatever happens, stay right here. Trust me." Her pulse quickened, but the calm assurance in his voice anchored her. "Yes, I trust you." The outlaws drew closer, their horses kicking up clouds of dust. Tension coiled in the air, heavy and suffocating. The ranger's presence behind her was like a shield, solid, unyielding. She could feel the quiet strength in him, a reassurance that kept panic at bay. Then, with the precision of a seasoned fighter, he moved. One hand steadying her, the other drawing his revolver. He positioned himself between her and the looming danger. Dust and grit swirled around them, caught in the fading light of the sun. For a brief heartbeat, time seemed to freeze. She felt him close behind her, the firm reassurance of his presence, grounding her. Fear had not left her entirely, but courage had seeped in, slow and steady, carried on the certainty that she was not alone. The men slowed, recognizing the reputation of the ranger. A tense standoff unfolded, words sharp, barely above a growl, threats woven into each syllable. But the ranger's calm authority was unassailable. Slowly, the outlaws backed down, calculating the cost of defying a man whose name inspired caution and respect in equal measure. When the danger passed, he turned to her. "Are you all right?" She nodded, still catching her breath. "Yes, thanks to you." He gave a faint smile, almost hidden beneath his hat. "It's what I do. But you need to stay close. This town, it isn't what it seems." She frowned. "What do you mean?" "Nothing you can't handle yet. But trust me, the night is coming, and with it, secrets you wouldn't believe." Her curiosity mingled with fear, fascination, and a growing recognition of the strange bond forming between them. Something unspoken passed in the silent acknowledgement of danger, survived together. By the time the sun finally dipped below the horizon, the town had grown quiet. Lanterns flickered to life along the empty streets, and the first hints of night settled over Dustwood like a velvet curtain. The ranger led her to a narrow alley, away from prying eyes. "Follow me," he whispered. "There's more you need to see." Inside the shadows, She felt the weight of the day settle into her bones. She didn't fully understand why she trusted him, but she did. That trust, she realized, was both terrifying and exhilarating. Night had fully claimed Dustwood. The town, silent except for the occasional creak of wood or distant bark of a dog, seemed to hold its breath. The ranger led the young woman through narrow alleys, past shuttered windows, his voice low and deliberate. "Stay close. There are things in this town, things most people don't see," he said, his eyes scanning every shadow as if expecting it to move. She followed, her curiosity now mingled with adrenaline. The cold night air bit at her skin, but his presence was a comfort, a steadying force in the unfamiliar darkness. They arrived at a small cabin on the outskirts of town. Smoke curled lazily from the chimney, and the soft glow of the fire inside spilled into the yard. The ranger opened the door and gestured for her to enter. The cabin was modest but orderly, filled with maps, notes, and artifacts that suggested careful planning and hard-earned experience. The fire crackled, warming the small space, and the young woman moved closer, sensing the gravity of what she was stepping into. "Sit," he said again, pointing to a chair near the hearth. "Rest. You'll need it before things get complicated." She obeyed, though a subtle tension lingered in her shoulders. He moved to stand behind her, one hand lightly on her back. "It's all right. Just trust me." And in that moment, she felt the meaning of his words, the phrase that had drawn her curiosity. And then she felt him below, took on a new significance. It was not fear that gripped her, but a profound sense of being anchored, of safety in proximity to someone she could rely on completely. They spent the hours before dawn discussing the town, the outlaws, and the dangerous game being played in the shadows. The ranger revealed his plan. Tonight, the outlaws would strike again, and they would need every advantage to survive. She listened intently, absorbing every detail, the gravity of the situation pressing on her shoulders. By morning, the strategy was set. Maps were marked, horses saddled, and supplies checked. She had grown braver, fortified by trust and a burgeoning sense of purpose. The showdown came in the blazing sun at high noon. Dust swirled as the ranger and the young woman faced the outlaws. Gunfire cracked, horses bolted, and the town seemed to vibrate with tension. Every movement was calculated, every decision crucial. The ranger remained calm, steady, and commanding, his presence a beacon of confidence in the chaos. When the dust finally settled, the outlaws were gone, and the town was safe. The young woman had discovered courage she hadn't known she possessed, and a bond of trust with the ranger that would shape her understanding of loyalty and protection forever. As they rode away from Dustwood, the wind whipping past them, she glanced at him, a mix of admiration, curiosity, and gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you for everything," she said. He tipped his hat, a rare, fleeting smile crossing his face. "Trust me, the world is bigger than you think, and bigger adventures are waiting." And as they disappeared into the horizon, the phrase that had defined their first encounter, "And then she felt him below," resonated differently. It was no longer about fear or uncertainty, but about connection, trust, and the silent promise of protection, no matter the peril.